What if you could go in and change the match engine on Football Manager? Well, someone has done just that. This sort of thing has happened once or twice in the past, but I'll be honest, I've always been afraid to try it because I thought it would mess with my game. But somebody posted this recently. Community created physics engine update and match engine analysis. But what does this mean? It means they've gone in and actually changed the coding around how the match engine works. And once again, we have the massive Chinese Football Manager community to thank for this. It started on this website called PlayGM in a forum post that I have translated from Chinese here. And while the translation is far from perfect, they detail how they use the official resource archiver to decompress the simmatch.fmf. This is a file in the data folder for your Football Manager game. But once they extracted it, they were able to find a file called simmatch physics physical_constraints. They opened it with a software called HXD, which I would imagine is some sort of coding software. Upon an intense Google search, it checks out. Then once they got it the way they wanted, they used the official tool to package it into an FMF and replace the original SimMatch file, which means installing this is actually very easy. You just take your SimMatch file and drag it to your desktop or documents or wherever to save your original one, and then bring this guy's SimMatch file into your Football Manager. So it can't really ruin your game because if you want to get rid of it, you just remove this dude's SimMatch file and bring the original one that you saved back in. Make sense? But after it was posted here, it made its way to FM Arena, where it was posted along with reviews, like this one, feeling much better than the original. And finally, the side will not look defensive and more pleasing to the eye, very close to the reality of the wonderful game. The overall rhythm is faster. The original engine is more sluggish, and sometimes there are pictures of players being tackled. And then it made its way all the way to the Football Manager Reddit. And then somebody said, can we get Zealand to do a video on this? I want to see his take. And then somebody said, someone put it in the Zealand channel, and they did, and that's how I'm here. So we are about to play Football Manager 24 on an updated match engine. I have it installed, and we've jumped back into the save file of my first long-form save on Football Manager 24, The Journeyman. Which, just as a reminder, if you want to rewatch that or any of my old saves, the Zealand Live YouTube channel has edited episodes of each one. So if you want to know the backstory of all these dudes, by all means. Although maybe not all of them, because I've definitely continued playing the save off stream. Anyways, so what are we looking for going into this? Comments on the original post mention that the decision-making process is improved. So we're looking for one-touch passing, quick decisions, accelerated decision-making. They've also mentioned that there are more goals being scored in this match engine, which is something that the original poster actually tested, and this is the current second version of their match engine mod, which lowered the goal output. So maybe those comments were using the original. But bottom line, we're looking for anything different. Let's go. Our next match is against Brighton in the League Cup. It's sad how excited I am for this, considering we're not going to get FM25. I feel like I just cracked open potentially a new game. First takeaway is immediately it does feel a lot faster. I play on one tick above normal speed because I feel like in the base game that's what feels normal, but this definitely feels like it's picked up the pace, and personally I think it's great. As long as it gives me goals, I'm cool with it. But I'm also going to say, based off the first couple of highlights I've seen, while it does feel a little different, right, as somebody that's played 1,600 hours of FM24, it is not like a transcendent adjustment. I think perhaps players are a little more decisive with the ball. I'm seeing more one-touch passes, which is definitely nice. One of the things they said, one of the big changes they said that they made to the match engine was an increase in the decision-making and processing time, which is one, probably why the game feels faster, and two, probably why there are more one-touch passes. And I do really love that. But now I've seen a couple of those pirouettes as well, where a player will take a touch and then basically turn around on the ball and then shoot. I don't recall seeing that sort of animation before. And it's a very hard thing to assess exactly what difference something like this is able to make, because there's so much variety of what can happen in the match engine, and you don't know whether you're just getting a weird match right now or if you're getting something indicative of the changes that this type of match engine offers. Now, the team I am using is very good, so the statistics that we're seeing in this match so far with the XG, the shots, the possession, that all makes sense. That was a really pretty looking save. There's just something in the way the players move the ball, the way that it's been edited, that just feels a little more natural and sharp. You can tell whoever built this put a lot of time into it. But one of the top things that all the comments talk about on this match engine mod is that the team play feels better and the passing play feels more smooth. And that is the number one thing that is coming through for me after 27 minutes. That was a gorgeous looking goal. I mean, I know we just conceded and I'm obviously upset about that, but look at the softness of this touch. I mean, I don't want to get overhyped because I'm easily excitable. You guys probably know that by now. But I feel like I've never seen a first touch goal look that silky, and it takes a small deflection off the goalkeeper and it all looked very good. See, that's another goal. I feel like I've never quite seen a goal that looked like that before. I mean, it was a pretty chaotic goal, but what are the odds that if this match engine mod was making no difference at all, what are the odds that I would see multiple goals that I feel like I'd never really seen before? And I feel like even though that was chaotic, it's a fairly realistic looking goal. But the lot of goals thing, I mean, I'm seeing that. It's hard to parse because this team is so good that we created by the end of the journeyman save that we're going to score a lot of goals and we're going to be dominant. But they did say in their testing that the second version has less average goals per team than the first version. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, that's just a beautiful little play. Good first time decision making playing. Oh, that might be my favorite highlight I've seen so far on this. That is so good. Now, even that header looked really good. And this goes back to what Woodward said, which is that my players are scoring more skillful goals. The strikes towards the goal look better. The headers, the shots, the kind of the passes, it all looks just a little bit sharper. Somebody else in the comments described it pretty well. Watching general play, it's hard to put a finger on it, but it feels more like you're watching an actual game of football and not the FM style of football that we're used to. There are obviously still issues with it. Like we've had two different highlights where a player takes a touch and kind of does a 180 and then all of a sudden they're shooting or passing towards the goal. But overall, I'm getting the same feeling. That's a great example. That chested touch is a great example of another one of the comments I encountered getting ready to make this. There's less of a feeling that the ball is glued to players' feet. Long and hard hit passes don't stick to receiving players as well, with players more likely to take a heavy touch or bobble the ball more. The ball is definitely looser from the players. They haven't really done much in terms of the way the ball comes off the goalkeepers. It still comes off in I would say, a very unrealistic way. That's not something that they were able to address. So the logic behind that is that I'd actually played Brighton on the road in my previous match and actually beat them 5-0 in that match. And if we look at the XG from the match, I created nearly 6. Now, this is a completely statistically insignificant sample size, but at least it's a comparison. I created much less XG with this new match engine while at home with a very comparable starting 11. They actually managed to create more. Now, I'm going to take it for a spin in another match or two, but overall right now, I'm pleasantly surprised. See, that type of ball. That brings up something else that was mentioned in all of these comments from other people that played it significantly. My players seem more willing to try to hit lower percentage balls over or through the opposition defense. I feel like you don't see that type of ball that we just saw played a first time kind of pop to test the defense over the top. And these sorts of things could have a big impact because now that I'm playing my second match, kind of while it plays, those things can really affect tactics. I think the reason that there were so many goals in the original iteration of the match engine modification that this dude made is because when you increase the decision-making times, that makes it harder for the defense to be able to stay in front because the offensive players are making their decisions at a certain speed. That's the type of goal that totally could have been scored in the old match engine, so nothing unique there. But as the match engine changes, there's obviously a knock-on effect, a butterfly effect. If you increase the decision-making time, then obviously it's going to change the way that defense needs to happen. And based off some of the comments of people that have played this significantly, defense does feel different, although that's obviously a harder thing to get a feel for. The defenders are staying closer to the players that they're attempting to mark. But that tactical adjustment is really interesting because if the decision-making time is increased and the willingness to play lower percentage balls is increased marginally by the adjustments that have been made, well, that could make more of a variety of types of tactics more effective. And at the very least, if you've been playing FM24 for a long time, which of course you're going to have to play FM24 for a long time because FM25 got freaking canceled, right? Well, then you get a greater and greater understanding of how you're supposed to set up your tactics to win. This match engine adjustment, even if it's just a lateral movement, creates a bit of a new challenge, a bit of a new environment for you to be able to mess around with some new tactics that maybe didn't quite work as well as you thought they should in the previous match engine. And that in itself is exciting. I mean, the obvious conclusion to faster decision-making times and more willingness to play these low percentage balls kind of over the top means that potentially lower block tactics could be more in vogue in this match engine. It's interesting we scored basically the same goal going both directions early in this match that chipped kind of pretty looping ball to the back post. Obviously, there's sorts of things that you learn after hundreds of hours of playing a game, like you discover the corridor of death for the throw-ins, where there's certain areas where if a throw-in occurs, your team is at high risk. And you figure out certain ways that you come under threat after those hundreds of hours, like, oh, I should probably have not really short fullbacks, because in previous iterations of Football Manager, those fullbacks would end up isolated one-on-one at the back post all the time in aerial duels, no matter what you did. And by playing just a few games, I'm not going to be able to find any of that stuff on this match engine. So take any of the initial takeaways from this video with the same amount of grains of salt as you would take my initial review of a new Football Manager. Remember what that felt like? Well, there hasn't been enough time to really marinate in it. But it's clear after having played a couple of games now that there isn't something massive, obvious, and immediately broken, and there are some things that have definitely been improved. And there is just that little thing tickle in the back of your brain where you're just seeing highlights, moves, goals that feel a little different than anything you've ever seen before, and that gets you excited. Like that header on a corner, I'd never seen a goal that looked like that. Had that exact aesthetic. Like that. The first time flick across. Oh. I've never seen that. That's good. That's realistic. Whoa, just playing the ball out. And that goes back to the comments saying it just feels a little bit more like you're watching real football. Now, it's a little distorted, obviously, by the fact that I am playing with a team that is essentially a world best 11. So obviously we're running them completely off the pitch, but there's just a bit more variety. That ball just bounced. That ball just bounced. I've never seen that happen. It's a ball out wide and then it bounces before it gets to them. That is just such a more realistic looking play. And I never realized until just now that on all of those passes, the ball basically always, if it's going to be like an accurate pass, just goes straight to the player. It doesn't bounce in front of them. And honestly, based off the XG I was getting in the old match engine, that was nothing particularly unusual. Still came in under the XG I got against Brighton in that last match I played in the old engine. So what does all this mean? I think it's great. I think a big modding community is always a good thing for a game, and Football Manager's always had a lot of that going on with various databases, but very rarely has somebody been able to delve into the actual match engine and try and change parts about the visual in-match and kind of the underlying in-match experience. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but apparently the last time somebody did this was in FM20, and this is according to the person that posted it on Reddit and claims to be fluent in Chinese as well as English, obviously. They said, as I recall, SI was really upset about that update, and the difference between it and the original FM20 match engine was like night and day. So they changed the file type from JSON, which is apparently easier to work with, to JSB. But this person that made the new match engine changes used something called a hexadecimal editor, which is of course the HXD I was looking at earlier. Now, I understand there's a couple different reasons why SI and Football Manager would be upset around this. The match engine, in a lot of ways, is the core of the game, and I can understand that it would feel weird for SI to have somebody kind of rooting around in it. But being able to edit the match engine opens up all kinds of interesting possibilities. You could edit it to do all sorts of very fun things in the modding community that you wouldn't want to be a part of the base game, but could make the game a lot more fun for a lot of different people. I don't know. Your imagination can run wild in that department. As for if this update is better than the original match engine, it feels like it is. Now, obviously, Sports Interactive built the vast majority of the match engine, and they built the confines in which this guy was able to go in and make a couple of tweaks to try and clean things up and make it better, and you'd need hundreds of hours of testing, probably thousands of hours of testing, to actually confirm that you're getting accurate results, which is one of the most important things for Football Manager when they're building the game, is that you build a match engine that's going to be able to give you realistic, lifelike feeling results. It's a very difficult process, but there is absolutely no harm in you grabbing this and trying it. If you thought it looked cool, if you liked the way that the decision making was sped up and how it might mess with tactics, or how it's just a bit different of a match engine for you to be able to play since there's no FM25, there's absolutely no harm in trying it out. I've got the links to all the posts, the Reddit post, the FM Arena post, and the original post on the Chinese forum in the description down below. If you want to check them out and play with this match engine mod, go for it. Remember to get the second version one, because the first version one offense is just too overpowered. And also remember to save your original sim match file somewhere. I put one on the desktop and one in my documents just so that I had two in case I accidentally deleted one, so that you can go back to the original match engine if you ever want to do so. But we've opened up a whole new world where people can edit and change the match engine itself. And there were some other things that came from that had to do with attributes and what different things in the game they affect, but I might save that for another video. We can talk about that on stream. The Chinese FM community's been killing it. If you want to watch their different testing on the training in Football Manager that changed the way I look at training in the game, you can check that video out up there. Otherwise, I will see you on stream or on the Zealand Live channel. There's a lot of episodes from this save. A lot. You're way behind.